Hi, everyone. John Landers here for T-Bames. We have Ryan Kelly Berkowitz here today. Ryan performed for us back in December of 2013 at Tobacco Road. I appreciate you being here, Ryan, and thanks for joining us for this interview.
Thank you for having me, John. Can you see
Yes.
is my head getting cut off on
No,
your end?
you're just have a little bit of you can aim it down a little bit. That's it. You're good.
Oh, okay.
All right. So to start off, if you remember, what was your impression experience performing for us back in the 2013 back then?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was crowded. I noticed that there was a crowd, which whenever there's a crowd, like, "Yeah." And the people were bubbly and fun. All of the artists were very talented, and I had a really good time. That's what I
Great.
remember.
So when did you first realize that music was your calling?
I think I was still in the womb, John, when it was always just there. Uh, my mom said that I would like sing into flowers before I could talk. Uh, I don't even realize I'll be walking around and I'll be playing something in my head, whether it's Mozart or whether it's, like a disco track or whether,
Mhm.
there's always something in my head. And sometimes it'll keep me up at night because I don't realize, oh, you have to turn that off now because you can't sleep. Um, and it's the same way with writing. I have just these, I guess you call them intrusive thoughts. They're lovely thoughts, but they're definitely things that if I don't write them down, they're they're not going to let go of me. So
Okay.
it's a compulsion, it's a need, it's a love. I love it. It's also very therapeutic. It's always been, always been.
So who are your influences in music?
Okay. Nat King Cole, Linda Ronstadt, Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Nancy Wilson, Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, Al Green, Donny Hathaway. Did I say Karen Carpenter already?
No. Okay. No. Karen
Uh,
Carpenter. Uh-huh.
yeah, for sure. Joni Mitchell, the Beatles, the Eagles. Um, oh, Jill Scott, she's pretty cool. She's newer. She's not like I call her like side 40. She's not exactly top 40.
Hmm.
Um, I did we discussed a teeny bit of hip hop, and one hip hop album that really slapped me in the face in a good way was the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. She doesn't really influence me, but I was like, oh wow, that was amazing. Um I try to listen to as many artists as humanly possible because I also impersonate, and I taught myself how to sing when I was really young. I didn't even know what I was doing through vocal impersonation. Oh, the cast album of Ain't Misbehavin'
Hmm.
was probably like a defining moment for me as far as what sound was, what music was, what entertaining was. And I was listening to an album. I didn't see it. I didn't see them. And
Hmm.
also the very first time I heard Billie Holiday's voice, that was like a huge thing for me as far as like it getting into my soul and like
Hmm.
shaking me around. So yeah, I had a lot of, and when I was in high school, like I used to listen to basically 50s and 60s. Like I used to listen to Bill Brown. I used to listen to Harry Harrison. I used to listen to Cousin Brucey. I was actually on the radio with Cousin Brucey several years back.
Hmm.
Don K. Reed, the Doo-Wop Shop. So my musical sensibilities are extremely throwback. And I also remember either my first introduction to classical music was either in ballet or watching Bugs Bunny. I don't remember what it was, but I've always been drawn to, and I'm also drawn to the music of the movies, like John Williams,
Hmm.
huge, big, huge hero. John Williams, John Barry, Lalo Schifrin. Just yeah, I try to keep my ears out for everything.
I was a
Yeah.
big fan of Henry Mancini myself, among
Oh,
others.
fantastic, fantastic. I got to sing at Marvin Hamlish's funeral, and he also
Oh,
did quite an amount of he had like 600 singers at his funeral because he
wow.
loved singers so much, and we were sobbing, we were crying, and we sounded like these 10 little people, and the woman in charge is like, "Well, now listen, think of Marvin and get it out and be beautiful." And oh, I love Henry Mancini is wicked. What he used, what What did he use a lot of? Manhattan Transfer, New York Voices, or New York
Well,
Voices
I
was
don't remember, but I mean, Breakfast at Tiffany's, those
beautiful.
were memorable stuff.
Beautiful. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. Yeah, yeah. Lovely. Lovely.
And,
Yeah.
and what have been your challenges in getting your music career started? What kind of challenges do you experience?
Um, well, because I do a lot, um, I often will confuse an agent or a manager, because a lot of times they'll want to pinhole you. So that's a double-edged sword because I'll book a lot of work because I'll sing in different languages. Like I could sing in Italian, I do a
Hmm.
considerable amount in Yiddish, I could sing a little bit in French. I just started to add Brazilian Portuguese, because the more you do, the more you can work. But then so often it'll confuse people. And I think sometimes I could be wrong. I could just not be reaching the right amount of the right audience. I feel like my chord structure might be a little more, I don't want to say jazzy, but jazzy. Like I don't really stick to triads when I
Hmm.
write. I like listening to music with triads, but writing a tune, writing like a loop tune with triads for me when I'm composing, just for me when I'm composing, bores me to tears. I
Hmm.
need like fifths, I need flat fives, I need major seven. Like I mean, usually pop music, you don't even hear a major seventh chord. So sometimes I think that I might add too many chords that are like, well, that's not really in like middle of the road mainstream music, but I have to write, how I hear it. I can write like pop stuff, but it's not as like a visceral connected experience for me. So yeah, also I had terrible stage fright. Um
Hmm.
play, Playing and singing. Never had stage fright singing, or I also did a lot of acting and dancing. But for some reason, I don't know what happened. I don't know when it happened. It's pretty much gone now. But when I played for you, I was
Hmm.
terrified. I was terrified that night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had been for like maybe 10 years. Um, I did a gig at the bitter end way before I met you, and something happened where the lights were above me and they cast a shadow on the piano, and it was like 88 times 2, and the
Hmm.
the keys started jumping, like the A traded places with the C and the G traded places with, and I like blanked out, like I whited out, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
and at that point in my writing career, I was playing via muscle memory and
Hmm.
not my chord progression. Now I've righted that. I righted that wrong. So yeah, a lot of different things. Also, I do a lot of vocal impersonations, and that gets me booked. That's like sometimes my little hook, but a lot of people do tribute stuff. But I mean, if somebody wants a Cher or a Marilyn, um, I do a lot of that kind of thing. I'm very good with connecting. Like I'm very good with breaking fourth wall. Like if you
Hmm.
need me to go and sit on the guest of honor's lap in a nice way. Obviously, I have to check it with the girlfriend or the wife or whatever, or, have to make it sure it's copacetic. But I'm very good, like schmoozing and being, once I'm booked and in the party, I'm on, you know, and I'm gonna make it the best that I can for the whole party. I think I told you in the pre-interview, like I'm for the party, I'm for the venue, I'm for the experience. If I'm not feeling like we're gelling, I'm even going to throw it out. I'll say, would you like to hear anything? Can I,
Hmm.
because I can pivot mid-show, especially if I'm doing a cover show. So that was a
Okay.
long-winded, but yeah.
So how do you find the music industry today since the inception of the internet?
Um, Actually, I was going to ask you this question. I feel like things are now exceedingly visually driven
Hmm.
as far as your tech, as far as are you performing as an avatar? Are you, what's your visual look? What's your whatever it is? And I don't see anything wrong with that, but
Hmm.
I just wish that it was a little bit more here and a little less here.
Yeah.
And I feel like obviously that happened with MTV and VH1 before the internet, but now, and like I said, I have nothing against graphic artists and, big pyrotechnics and spectacle, but when I go to a concert and I really enjoy what's going on, no matter what's happening visually, this is
Mhm.
what I do. This is what I do. I
Hmm.
close my eye. I'm not falling asleep. I'm just saying, I just wish
You're just taking it
that,
all in and in the sound of it all.
yeah, I wish it was
Mm.
more sound. I wish it was more that the singer's voice made the record rather than, first of all, also when you're just making the record, rather than the engineer or the producer putting their whatever the heck it was
Yeah.
into it. And again, that, I mean, that's a previous thing. That's something that happened like with the Swedes in the 70s, I want to say. And then when they started to pop out Britney Spears and NSYNC, and again, not taking anything away from that music, but slowly, 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 music just kind of got scrubbed and filtered and became this one thing for most of the people to digest. And I think just a lot of people are missing out on, and it's weird because the internet is such a huge place. You would think that so
Mm.
many different types of music would be showcased. And I feel like they're not, unless I fall into a hole and I do a really deep dive. So that's how I
Mhm.
feel.
What is the most effective way you find yourself being able to market your music?
I'm
How
a
are you?
horrible marketer. I have not found an effective way. I just like be really
Okay.
terrible.
Do you have
Yeah.
any favorite, preferable social media sites that you are more focused on?
I guess I like Instagram. Um,
Yep.
yeah, I mean,
Instagram's good.
I TikTok here and there, not really. Facebook is sort of on the older side of the spectrum. I do a lot on YouTube, and I just started to do YouTube shorts. I should probably do them more often than not, but I have a YouTube channel. I have two YouTube channels, but one is just originals. It's called I'll Sing You Mine If You Sing Me Yours. Um, and I put really new, like I write it and I play it
Mhm.
and I sing it. It's not produced, it's not anything. And then I'll do like a bunch of outtakes after, because I like to be funny. I love music. I hope this is not a faux pas to say this, but my absolute favorite form of entertainment is stand-up comedy
Awesome. I'm a big fan of that myself.
because they're
Um,
all out there. So yeah, so YouTube and Instagram, and I think I have like a link tree that everything funnels into,
so
and I have a website. Yeah.
I'll share that everyone when we put it up on YouTube. What would you tell a new artist that is looking to pursue a music career in today's environment?
If you're gonna go into something with a contract, get the contract at the beginning of the process. Make sure you know make sure all your stuff is copywritten before you go into a recording studio. So yeah, make sure, because whether or not someone wrote your material, if someone else's name is on your publishing, someone else is going to be sharing your publishing. Like I feel like they should not necessarily meet with a lawyer, but like review what's going on, like the different ways to copyright something. You can do something as a collection because it's very expensive. What is it, like $30 for one piece of music, or maybe 35? Maybe there's a
Hmm.
little online. Also to make sure, which, and all my stuff isn't even cataloged. Once you copyright, to make sure that you're PRO, right?
Hmm.
Whether you're, if you join with a ASCAP or BMI or CSAC, they will do some kind of a job of making sure that, let's say you're not selling, but let's say you're streaming, right?
Hmm.
They'll make sure that somebody's collecting something for you, and they'll give you, your royalties, your monies. Also, don't read. If you're on a gig, I mean, it's one thing if you're playing and you need to remember your changes, but if you're out in front and you're like reading, again, because I do a lot of weddings too, and sometimes the bride requests something right quick, or sometimes there's things that people want there in the room, and I'll go outside on the balcony and I'll learn it in like 10 minutes. So yeah, okay, for that kind of a thing you could read. But if you're entertaining and this is your set, don't use your iPad. Don't use your phone. Don't be memorized. Like be memorized as if you
Mm.
could do a natural disaster. I tell my students that too. Like you need to be in rehearsal at 1,000%. Actually, I had a meeting with Wynton Marsalis when I was very, very young. And he said something to me that was like, wow, that's so brilliant. He basically said, you need to be at 1,000% at rehearsal. So you could
Mm.
be at 85% at show, you know?
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there are so many things. Be gracious. Be sweet, be nice, but don't be a pushover. If you
Hmm.
ever co-write with someone, I have I've tried co-writing with people many, many times, and I just don't think it's in my skill set because I feel such a responsibility to jump into the mind of my co-writer that I sacrifice what I want. So
Hmm.
just feel out, make sure, because it's a marriage. You know what I mean?
Right.
Also to make sure you're on the same page if you're performing with another artist, monetarily speaking. If you are partners, make sure that you are involved with every part of the gig, from
Mm.
getting there, from the setup to the set list to the negotiating the gig with the client. If you're truly partners with somebody, you have to make sure artistically and business wise that everything is, holding hands. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yes.
And the more you work with, the more wonderful it gets. But then
Hmm.
also the harder it gets because you're like, oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't think to ask if my parking was covered. I
Mm.
didn't think to ask what would happen. I can remember going on a gig and I had a parking permit it's closed now for the boathouse in Central Park.
Hmm.
And the cops wouldn't let me in, even though I had the parking pass. And I get to gigs extremely early, especially when it's a wedding. So I
Mm.
had like, all this time to drive around the park, go around the other park, so you just get there early, know what the traffic. There's so many things, John. There's so many
Yeah.
things.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Are you working on anything new right now in your music?
Yes. Yes. Well, I write a lot. Um, I'm actually submitting two older pieces to a folk festival. It's one of these pay to play things, but I think it's a reputable folk festival. I forgot the name of the festival in Canada. Um, I'm playing a bunch of private things. I'm playing a gala and I'm playing a bunch of private venues. I'm submitting my show. We spoke a little about it. It's called, I don't know if I told you the title. It's called Mostly Dead People and Share.
Hmm.
It's the show so it's all original material that I wrote for all the people that I impersonate. Not parody, all new tunes that would be in their style and their genre. So I'm submitting that to a few festivals in town and like summer festivals because it's also I would categorize it as a music piece, but like a music sort of crossover cabaret theater piece because I'm also doing like spoken impersonations. Like I do Katharine Hepburn and I do Betty Davis and a lot of throwback stuff. So I'm submitting that around to a couple of places. I just submitted something. I was to the Columbia Film School. I didn't get it. It was through ASCAP, but they asked me to submit again, so that was nice. So they have a film festival, and they draw in
Hmm.
all sorts of people who are writers, and they pair them off with because we were talking about I love music of the movies, and I feel like
Hmm.
I'm missing out on. I would love to score a film. Oh, I would love to score a film.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I'm always writing. I'm trying to do more with, like I said, my show, and um, yeah, that I guess just just working on it, basically.
Okay.
Just working on it. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Stay on after we turn off the recording. But thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. And anyone who's interested in Ryan, I'll be sharing her links it's on our website, T-Bames, as well as on the bottom of our YouTube channel when I post this. So
Sure.
thank you very much, and thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me.